another important practice for variables is when we have local and global variables. These two are very important, especially when we face functions. So if we want to define a function in Python, first let me show you how you can define a function, and then I'm going to tell you what is local variable, what is global variable, and how to use them, and how they will be applied in different situations. So first and foremost, we're going to have the tutorial related to functions in Python later, but here I'm going to in summary show you how you can define a function. To do so, we write def name, for example, of function, and it accepts a variable as input, or it can accept nothing as input. Here we place no inputs, but you can also place variables inside as an input, and then you will return an output. Anyway, we're not going to talk about that. And for example, you write print hello world. Okay, and so this is a function. If you run this function, if you run this code, it's not going to show you anything because you've only defined the function, but you haven't run the function inside your code. So in order to run this code, you write python free variables.py, and as you can see, there is no result. But once you write the name of the function, you will see that it's going to print hello world for you. So this is the simplest way a function can work. It can get much more complex. It can be placed inside a class. We're going to explain all of this one by one in the next tutorials about functions, but here, because we're going to explain the global and local variables, we need to first explain the function and then get into the details about global and local variables. So generally, the global variables are placed outside the function, and the local variables are placed inside the function. The local variables are not going to be accessed outside of the function, but the global variables can be accessed anywhere, whether inside or outside the function. Okay, anyway, if for example we have x equals to hello world, and we also define another x with another input, for example hello, and so let me change this one to hello world, and this is just hello function. And inside here, inside the print, I'm going to write x, but it's not very clear which x we're defining. So let's test this code and see which x is going to be printed here. So let's save the code and run it. As you can see here, hello function is printed out, and the reason is that it's a local variable, and the priority here is with the local variable, which is inside the function, not with the x outside of the function. So let's comment this line in order to omit this part and see what happens, whether it's going to print anything. Okay, right now, after commenting this line, it's going to refer to the global variable x equals hello world. So the first priority is with the local variables inside of the function, and then the global variable outside of the function. But if we uncomment this line and we print x, what happens is print, and let's also comment this print inside of the function and see what happens. We're going to see whether we read the x from, and let's also place it out after the execution of the function. So for example, here we are executing the function, the name of the function, and then we're going to print x. So we're going to face two x's, one which is inside the function and the other which is outside of the function, and see what happens. So once we run the code, we're going to see hello world, and it's not going to consider x which was inside the function. So that's it. The difference between the local variables and the global variable is that you can access the local variables from inside the function, not outside of the function. But for the global variables, you can access them whether inside or outside the function. And the priority of global and local is with the local inside of the function and with the global outside of the function. So if you're outside of the function, you can only access the global variable, not the local. But if you're inside of the function, you can access both of them, but the priority is with the local variable. Okay, hope this has been a clear explanation about the global and local variables, but if you haven't understood it and understand it very well, don't worry, because we're going to learn more about the global variables inside a class, inside a function, outside a function, and how to use them, how to define them. You will learn that if you are in a class, you need to also write global x and then define x as hello world. So it's going to get a bit more complicated, but for now you can easily understand the difference between these two, so that later we will explain much more detail.